In this example, we have a formula, and they're asking us to solve for t. We've got g is equal to t minus h over ht. So to start solving for t, we need to clear the fraction. There's a denominator here of ht. We need to multiply both sides by ht in order to clear the fraction. So let's multiply the left side by ht, and then also multiply the right side of the equation here by ht. So on the left side, we could just write it as GHT in any order that you like. And then on the right side, the h cancels itself out and also the t cancels itself out. That's the purpose for multiplying both sides by the denominator so that we clear the fraction. And on the right side, that just leaves us t minus h. So the fraction is cleared, which is great. Sizing up what we've got, we're trying to isolate the variable t. Notice there are two terms that contain the variable t. We need to get both of these terms that have the variable we're trying to solve for on the same side of the equation. If you have more than one term that has the variable in it you're trying to solve for, you need to make sure they're all on the same side of the equation. So a simple thing to do would be just to subtract t from both sides, to bring the t term here over to the left side. So I'm just going to show that I'm subtracting t from both sides. You can just mentally bring it over if you like. So we have GHT minus t is equal to negative h on the right side. Both terms that have the desired variable are now on the same side. The next thing to do then is to factor out the t from both terms on the left. So if we factor out the common factor of t here, that would leave us in parentheses with gh minus 1. And then on the right side, we've got negative h. The very last thing to do to get t completely isolated is, since t is currently being multiplied by this expression gh minus 1, we can divide both sides by gh minus 1 and have t solved for. So I'm just going to show that I'm dividing both sides by the gh minus 1. Divide the left side by gh minus 1, and then divide the right side also by gh minus 1. So on the left side, the gh minus 1s cancel each other out, and we have t all by itself. T equals, and then on the right side, it's just negative h over gh minus 1. There's really no purpose for the parentheses around the gh minus 1 in the denominator at this stage, so we could just express the answer like this. T equals negative h all over gh minus 1. I want to point out a couple things about alternate forms of the answer here. Notice we've got a negative sign in the numerator. With a fraction, when there's a negative sign present in the numerator, that negative sign could also be placed out in front of the fraction or in the denominator. So this is particularly important when you're faced with a multiple choice question, trying to determine how you can convert your answer to what you're faced with in terms of picking the correct choice from a lineup. So we could place that negative sign, like I mentioned, out in front of the fraction like this. T equals the negative of h over gh minus 1. This is another valid way to express t, with the negative sign out in front of the fraction. Or another equivalent way to express the solution is this. We could place the negative sign with the denominator and write it like this. T equals h over the negative of gh minus 1. I place the negative in front of the denominator. This is valid, and most people would distribute the negative through the parentheses here and call this t is equal to h over, this would be negative gh, and then plus 1. The double negative on the 1 converts it to a positive 1 there. And then almost everybody would just reverse the order of the two terms in the denominator and make this t equals h over 1 minus gh. That's considered a little simpler than negative gh plus 1. So this is a third valid form of the result. Okay, so all three of these are equivalent, and you could stop here and that's fine, but when faced with a multiple choice question, don't worry if your answer doesn't match your choices. Just take a look and carefully see if you might be able to convert it to one of the choices that you have to choose from.